The biggest thing that just is kind of like a knife going through my heart is that a lot of franchisors know that retail is important, but don't put the energy and efforts behind it very early on.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Franchise. I'm your host, Paul Ehlinger, and we're super excited today. We've got Andrea Wiita with us. Andrea, maybe if you can, just getting us all kicked off here, give us your quick background. Who are you? What do you care about? And what are you up to today?
Yeah, hi, Paul. I'm really excited to be here today and share a little bit about my background and journey in franchising. I always like to start off by saying my background is primarily in retail, product development, merchandising, buying. I started off in the traditional, retail industry, working for big box retailers, specialty stores, and I always like to bring that up because I feel like that really set the tone and the foundation for my career.
Hmm.
Um, Always, though, throughout my entire life, I've been very active. Appreciated living, a very healthy lifestyle. And in
Yeah.
2015, when I moved down to South Florida, with retail being part of my background, there really just was not a lot of opportunity for me with what I did historically. And ironically, Orange Theory Fitness at that time had reached out to me and was looking for
Yeah.
somebody to essentially join the organization and help scale out their retail programs. And I felt at that time it was marrying two of my
Stars
passions,
aligned.
right? Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. It was, my personal passion and my professional passion. So I joined Orange Theory Fitness in 2017. And that was really a
Hmm.
pivotal moment in my career where I learned very quickly stepping into Orange Theory Fitness, one of the, greatest success stories in franchising, in my opinion,
Yeah.
around, wow, I'm in an organization that retail is not the core competency of their business. And there are so many
Hmm.
untapped opportunities, so many opportunities to educate both the corporate team and the franchisees on how to be successful with retail. So I spent
Yeah.
3 years at Orange Theory Fitness, did everything pretty much from A to Z. And then after my tenure at Orange Theory, I stayed in what I'm calling the health and wellness segment of the world
Hmm.
and started working with different types of franchise businesses, different health and wellness organizations, and ultimately decided to start my own retail consulting company called The Retail Method, because I just
Yeah.
see there's so much untapped potential and opportunity in retail where a lot of these businesses just don't have the time or the expertise to really focus on it. And that's where I come in and really help execute their vision from a retail perspective.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think it's interesting. So, like, what a time to get into health and wellness, right? Like, I feel like the last 15 to 20 years have just seen explosive growth. You've obviously been a part of multiple parts of that. What really like led you to specialize in retail for that, right? Like, is it you just love eating healthy, going to the gym, and you're like, hey, how can I do things I care about? What was like the causal inspiration?
Yeah, I love that question because it really just boils down to my passion. And so
Hmm.
that's one of, I think, kind of the qualities and traits of what I bring through the retail method to these organizations, because I not only
Hmm.
have decades of experience in retail, but I'm also their core customer. I have friends
Yeah.
that are their core customers. I live and breathe a healthy and active lifestyle. And so I bring this personal passion in addition to my previous years of experience and expertise to execute the strategy and the vision for the brand. And it's just something that I think really truly helps set me apart, is the energy and the passion that I bring for not only retail but just living a healthy and active lifestyle as well.
Yeah, I think we hear that all the time from CMOs or folks in the marketing departments. It's when they can be their own customer, they always find it just easier, even, right? Because you know what's going to catch your eye, you know what's going to cause you to convert. And if you don't, you definitely know somebody who does, that looks like you, acts like you, thinks like you. So it definitely makes a big impact for sure.
Absolutely.
Interesting. And I know you went over it quickly, but you did work for some really large brands at the beginning of your career. JCPenney, Neiman Marcus, really household names, right? And so I'm curious how retail is different there than it is within a franchising organization like Orange Theory or the clients you work with at the Retail Method.
Absolutely. And again, another great question. I think the biggest kind of learning curve for me and going from traditional retail to going into the franchise organization was when you are in a franchise business, I always say the franchisee is your customer, right?
Mm,
And then you also
yeah,
have your end customer, right? But I think the first and foremost relationship that you have to build trust and build the rapport with is the franchisee.
hmm,
So rather than going direct to the end consumer, you have to craft your assortments so that it is on brand and
mm,
profitable for both the franchisor and the franchisee, because there has to be room for everybody, right? So there has to be room for the
right,
franchisee to want to purchase it, but then leave enough margin to sell to the end user so that they are also profitable as well. So it's a completely different strategy. Whereas in a traditional retail
yeah,
background, you're going direct to consumer, all of your marketing campaigns, everything is directed at end user. Where in a franchise organization, you really have to build that trust and that relationship with the franchisee first, and get
yeah,
them to understand the strategy, the reasoning why they should carry retail, the benefits behind retail, and how it can do so much more than generate revenue.
yeah.
There's so many other benefits like marketing, community awareness, just making sure that they're staying on top of brand standards, right? And kind of creating that holistic
Absolutely.
end to end experience for their members is just very different than when you're in a traditional retail environment.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And I'm curious, Orange Theory is obviously such a large visible success, right? They scaled super rapidly. What was it like when you got in there in terms of retail operations? And, what were your primary goals in your time there? And how were you trying to elevate retail for Orange Theory? Because I think they do so well at certain aspects of their brand, right? And so I'm assuming the bar was high for the retail side as well.
They do, they do. And when I joined Orange Theory in, like I said, 2017,
Mhm.
they were just shy of 1,000 locations and had almost a million
Yeah.
members, both nationally and
Wow.
internationally. So that was a crazy experience to walk into. And what was really interesting about Orange Theory, they experience, as many of us know in this industry, tremendous rapid growth in a very short period of
Yeah.
time. And truth be told, there was not much of a strategy behind the retail. And it got to a point where they said, okay, wow, we are growing so fast. We know the franchisees want this. We know our members
Yeah.
are so passionate about being an Orange Theory member and they want to wear the
Yeah.
gear, they want to wear the logo. But we needed to make sure at that time that we were doing it strategically and thoughtfully so that, again, it made sense for the brand and the franchisees. So when I joined the organization, again, with my background in retail, it was the first organization that
Yeah.
I joined that was not a traditional retailer. I jumped in and started
Hmm.
asking all these questions. What is your fixture capacity? What's the price points, your sweet spot and price points? And, what kind of
I'm
brand
guessing they may
standards do
not
you
not have had
have?
all those answers.
They did not. And that was kind of the light bulb really went off in my head at that point where I said, wow, okay, what a great opportunity to help come in here and essentially grow out the retail program from A to Z. And that really meant developing a full on strategy. Who were the target customers?
Mm,
What were they looking for? What kind of price points was the sweet spot for both the franchisee and the end users? How are we going to make this scalable? So building out a B2B and a B2C website. And then
mhm.
how are we going to help the franchisees purchase and sell it? That was the big missing piece, was that you can put
Yeah.
all of the great merchandise out there. You can put all of the great promotional items or event merchandise out there. But a lot of the franchisees are very busy and rightfully so trying to run their
Mhm.
studio, driving member engagement, driving sales, and making sure that their studio operations are where they need to be, that they don't have the time and energy to really focus on retail. So, with me at the corporate level, having both my background and helping Orange Theory at that time, we were able to put together these tools and best practices for the franchisees to be able to understand, this is how I should buy it. This is how it needs to go on the fixture. These are the day to day operations that I should really look at and take care of to make sure my
Mm.
retail program is a success.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, and I think it bridges the gap to the next question really well, which are, probably saw some of them at Orange Theory, and you probably see more of them now with your clients at Retail Method. But what are the common mistakes you're seeing franchises make within their retail strategy?
The biggest thing that just is kind of like a knife going through my heart is that a lot of franchisors Know that retail is important, but don't put the
Mm,
energy and efforts behind it very early on. And so I
yeah,
can't tell you how many times I've talked to franchisors or people that worked for, franchise organizations, and they just say, we know it's important, but we just don't have the time or energy right now to put behind it. So
sure.
we're letting the franchisees do whatever they feel is best for their locations. And what I have learned and what I have experienced throughout all of the conversations that I have had is that when you do that, it might feel easier up front, but as you continue to
Right.
scale and get bigger, it's very hard to go back and change that
Yeah.
behavior or change that mentality. So putting the energy and effort up front, including it in part of your strategy, is going to be so critical to making sure that
Hmm.
your vision and your brand standards are adhered to throughout your entire growth, and
Yeah.
you don't have to go back and do the rework.
Yeah, it's got to be easier to like fix a brand that tried and maybe didn't succeed as well as they wanted to than to start from scratch with 200 locations, I would guess.
Yes, exactly. It really is. And it just really comes down to your whatever business that you are in. If you're a health and wellness brand, if you are a different type of franchise organization, there's always going to be some component to your business that requires sourcing, pricing, working with different vendors, right? To bring, if it's equipment that your locations need, um,
Hmm.
promotional items, uniforms, apparel, any of that, right? There's always going to be
Yeah.
that piece of the business. And if you just really invest in doing it correctly in the beginning and set yourself up for success, it will not be a headache for you later on.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And I think I would imagine, especially in a modern age where like e-commerce is such a big role in this as well, getting those technology solutions up front are super important. So maybe go into that a little bit, right? Like what roles do you see technology or which platforms do are you really high on to help scale these retail operations amongst these multi-location brands?
I would say the biggest thing is understanding that no matter what business you're in, your
Mm,
customers are going somewhere to purchase the things that they need. So if you can
mm,
figure out a way to provide that to them while they are visiting your location, you know, participating in a class, whatever that might be, that is going to be the
yeah.
biggest win for you because you already have that captive audience. I also like to say that on average, if you're talking retail specifically, I think the
Hmm.
average customer might go to the mall, might online shop a few times a month, few times a quarter,
Sure.
right? Depending on what category it is, right? The frequency is different. When you are in particularly a health and wellness organization, your members are visiting your location usually 3 times a week at minimum, 2 to 3 times a week at
Yeah.
minimum. Some of them go every
Yeah.
day. So you have them in there during that time. And if you can figure out a way to give them the things that they are looking for elsewhere, you're already one step ahead. And then if you
Yeah.
can do it in a way where one of the biggest strategies that I like to work with clients is figuring out a website that can drop ship directly to their home. So some
Yeah.
people, when they're attending a health and wellness class or a fitness class, whatever that is, a lot of people don't even bring their wallets in, right? They just bring their car keys and a
Yeah.
water
They
bottle
they
and
don't
they
have a
drop their
way,
car
but they can
keys.
still see it.
Right. They drop it in a cubby, right? So if there
Mm,
is a way where you can either captivate them while you're in your location with an iPad or a fixture and tell the front desk, oh, I love this hoodie, but I didn't bring my credit card and I'm going somewhere after, whatever
mhm.
that is. I'm going to work. I don't want to carry it. Figuring out a way to have an e-commerce presence where they can order it online and it drop ships directly to their home, like an Amazon deal, you're
Yeah.
good. And I think that
Yeah.
is the biggest challenge is a lot of these health and wellness brands that I work with, their lobbies are small. You don't have a big
Sure.
fixture to display all of your retail. But if you can get creative and strategic with how you're offering the merchandise and figuring out a way to drop ship it to your customers,
Mm.
you're going to be golden because that's the day and age that we live in is everybody wants everything to be at their fingertips and delivered to their front door
Yeah.
the next day.
Yeah. Well, and I guess too, like to your point, in a health and fitness setting, I've probably just worked out. I'm sweaty. I'm not going to try on this merchandise while I'm here. And so having the ability to order it, maybe I get two sizes online and it's easy to return it right away and do all of that. That's probably a big win kind of in this specific context.
Exactly, exactly. And that's a big strategy that I talk a lot about with when it comes to brick and
Mm.
mortar versus e-commerce.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And thinking about a franchise's brand more holistically, right? And I think fitting retail in there presents its own challenges and opportunities. How do you think about making sure that it is aligned with the overall brand strategy? It's more than just, hey, drop the logo on there, right? There's more to it to align it with the brand strategy. Can you go into that for us?
Yes, I love that question because that's one of the biggest questions and kind of
Mm,
first question I lead with when I'm working with
yeah.
potential new clients on building out a retail strategy. So a lot of people will say,
Hmm.
we know we need to do retail. And again, when I say retail, that could mean apparel, promotional items, event merchandise, CPG goods, all of that, kind of all falls under the
Sure.
retail umbrella. But you have to
Hmm.
think, who are we as a brand? Who are our clients? And what kind of products do we want to offer that aligns with our brand and our mission? So that's a really
Yeah.
big thing. It has to align with your brand
Yeah.
and your mission. And then from there we have to say, okay, great. Those are the products that you want to play in with the
Hmm.
brand as you continue to grow. What price points also make sense? So if you're a location and you can get $300 a month unlimited out of your membership, right? Those people might be able to spend more than maybe somebody who's just coming in using drop-ins once a month or
Sure.
whatever that is. So you really also have to kind of look at your business model,
Hmm.
understanding price point sensitivity, where you have opportunities to maybe go higher in your price points, where you should be a little bit more conservative, because that
Sure.
also too is important to aligning with your brand.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I'm assuming, like, if we're talking apparel specifically, when you're working with a client, are you like, hey, here's Lululemon or Nike, and kind of explaining the pros and cons to how those individual brands may fit and pair with, the apparel that they want to sell for their brand? Is that kind of a way you go about that?
I do. And as you're speaking to that, I'm thinking of myself. I always do as part of a strategy exercise. I do a brand positioning grid, much like many
Mm,
other marketers do when it comes to the brand. And you do it from a retail standpoint. So you have your grid, and you
yeah.
have, okay, here is where you fall in this grid, and here are all the other competitors around you, whether that be
Hmm.
other health and wellness brands, whether that be retailers, and you put yourself in the same bucket. And then you can do the competitive research around, okay, these brands offer these types of products at these types of price points with these types of fabrics. Do you feel that that connects with your brand? And then really
Yeah.
understanding where you fall on that retail brand positioning grid to make sure that the products that you're offering align with where you fall in that grid.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I'm curious as well because I think we've previously spoken, and you were talking about how at Orange Theory you had franchisees that were selling different things right at each location. In your opinion, how do you allow like localization at all? And if so, is it in a more brand controlled way than you may say with organic social or something? What does that kind of national versus local balance look like from the retail perspective?
I love that question because we also know in all of the brands that I've worked with, those
Hmm.
members want localized product. They want a shirt that
Yeah.
says, whatever fitness studio they were at, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Miami, Cincinnati, Ohio,
Yeah.
whatever that might be. And so we know that that piece is
Yeah.
also important. So we would figure out a
Hmm.
way to create we call it a custom order, where we
Hmm.
would, like, let's say there was a hoodie, a water bottle, and a t-shirt that we would launch maybe quarterly with new localized designs on it, and they could go
Yeah.
in and they could place an order for that in addition to the other product as well. And so
Yeah.
that was a really important, and honestly, that did a ton of volume for us when I was
It
at Orange
sure
Theory
did, yeah.
specifically,
Yeah.
um, because people want to rep their hometown, and that was just a
Mhm.
really important piece of that. So I think offering customized, localized product should be part of your strategy in addition to just your basic
Mm.
core offering as well. We would also do some really fun things. I've done this before in the past where, let's say it was a grand opening or there was an event
Hmm.
somewhere. We would also kind of host a pop up where we could say, okay, if you buy any of
Oh
this
yeah.
merchandise today off the fixture, we'll screen the name on the back of the t shirt, the tank top, the hoodie, whatever it is, today for free or
Nice.
for a small fee. So
Yeah.
that's a really also fun way to generate customized merchandise while still using that core selection that you already have.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a ton of sense, right? Because I feel like everybody I know that, I mean, speaking of Orange Theory, everybody I know that goes to Orange Theory talks about it like it's like their local boutique place they go to, right? It's like that is, I think, the biggest unlock to that mentality that you can create in the brand is they feel like, it's a massive multi-billion-dollar organization, but it's like, oh, I go there with Joe and Dave and Linda's our instructor, and it's just like I wear this shirt, it says Cincinnati on it, to your point. It
Yes,
just makes a beautiful little community.
it does. It does. And not only, and again, I think Peloton did a great job of this too historically, where they would have
Yeah.
coaches collections, right? So the
Oh
instructors
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
they
yeah.
would have, they would say, this is a customized collection based on whatever instructor it was. They would print the phrases
Yeah.
that instructor says, the style, the colors that instructor might wear often, and it would make it feel customized based on
Mhm.
the experience that the member is having. So there's different things you can do because again, there used to be, oh, I'm part of the 5 a.m. club or my coach says
Sure.
this, and we would get all of that feedback, and it would be so fun to figure out how to incorporate it into retail because then it felt
Yeah.
very personal and very connected to the
Mhm.
brand and the members, which just then makes them want to wear it and buy it more, which it becomes at
Right.
that point a free marketing billboard for you out in your community. So if you can figure out a way to have an overarching strategy, but then also allow some sort of customization or localization to your strategy, um, I think the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, no, no, that's awesome. Switching angles a little bit and kind of talking more into your journey, switching from some very large brands and then eventually starting the retail method. As an entrepreneur myself, I always think it's interesting, like what motivated you to become that, CEO, founder, president role as you kind of progressed your career.
I love that question because there has always just been this like burning desire in
Yeah.
me, I guess you can say, to figure out a way
Hmm.
how I can help other brands through my experience and my expertise. And giving that to more
Sure.
than just one company has just always been a vision of mine. I just think all the
Hmm.
time, especially after I have all these conversations and I have all these experiences working with non-traditional retailers, where I just say to myself, gosh, like there is something to this. There is something to this that if these, and I like to call them mission driven, purpose driven brands, right? Just bring in
Hmm.
an expertise with
Yeah.
experience to just help them, even just push them a little bit to get them going. There's something really
Yeah.
inspiring there to help these brands figure out how they can provide retail, whether that be again,
Hmm.
apparel, a hat, a bag, whatever that is, right? To these members
Sure. Yeah.
along their fitness journey is just something that's really inspiring to me. And I have always just I just have so much information and so much passion to share that
Yeah.
I just really had this desire to figure out how can I really help these brands? How can I share my passion and my energy in more than one place? And so that's really what, was the driving factor in me creating the retail method.
Yeah, no, I think you also have like a very unique niche talent, right? I think there's a lot of franchise marketing agencies out there. There's a lot of fractional CMOs or fractional that, but the retail method is pretty unique, right? And your background is very unique when it comes to that. And so I think it has to help you, have the confidence to go do something like this, right?
It really does. It really does. And I was just having a conversation a few weeks ago with a potential client, and they
Hmm.
loved the fact that I also had fashion as part of my background and working for some of these
Yeah,
traditional
yeah,
retailers because I think
right.
it just helps connect the dots a little bit differently than just throwing your
Hmm.
logo on a t-shirt, right? So I really understand
Yeah.
the end-to-end process of what it takes to build a retail program, not only make
Hmm.
it look good, but then also make it sell and make it a
Right.
successful extension of your brand, which is just, again, something I'm really energized about.
Yeah, making something look good and making something sell are two different, very different challenges. So being able to do
Very
both is very
different.
effective. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um, Interesting. And kind of asking more around how you stay up to date on the industry, right? Like I think honestly retail probably faster than franchising in terms of how fast it moves and updates to technology and how consumers are spending their money. What do you do to stay up to date, in that for your clients?
There are so many blogs and and
Mm,
resources from a retail standpoint, right? So there's a lot of trade shows
yeah.
that you can go to. There are a lot of there's one called WWD, which is Women's Wear Daily, and it's a
Mm,
true fashion blog, But then there's also
yeah.
some really great like newsletters or blogs that you can stay up to date on when it comes to the health and wellness industry. One that I really love is called the
Yeah.
Fit Insider. And the Fit
The fit.
Insider essentially is it delivers curated news and analysis from the
Mm,
health and wellness industry. And it's been a great resource for me because you can see really where the industry is moving and what's trending in that. And so I
yeah.
use that a lot as well. And then again, just being that customer, I am always looking
Mm,
at the competition as well as
yeah.
not only looking at the
Yeah.
competition, but probably taking a class there too.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
walking into a location, the first thing my eye goes to in the lobby is where's the retail? What does it look like? What do they offer? What's the experience like? I
Yeah.
go up, I touch it, I feel it, to really understand who's winning in this category and where there's, definitely opportunity.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And that's all been fantastic. I'd love to, if you're up for it, jump into the next portion of our show. That's kind of quick hitters, 10, 15-second responses. First thing that comes to mind on the question, if that's good for you.
I love it. Let's do it.
Awesome. Outside of brands you have worked with or are currently working with, what's a franchise brand, that you're inspired by the retail you're interested in, you think they're doing great things?
There is a brand called Star Cycle. They are, I
Mm.
have never spoken to them, but they're Oregon based and it's a 45-minute, fitness cycle franchise organization. They're
Yeah,
relatively new, but I follow them on LinkedIn and they, in every post, talk about ancillary revenue and give a shout out to retail. I think all of their posts, all of
interesting.
their blogs, they're always in uniform. They always have great retail on. And so I think they see the bigger picture when it comes to retail. And they're just someone I really enjoy following. And I think is a perfect example of how they're doing it well from the beginning.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I saw too, I just looked it up as you're talking about it. They offer childcare at
They
many of
do.
their locations because they were founded by two working parents. Like, I think that's such a unique differentiator in the health and wellness space. Like, that's a great idea.
It really is. And there's a few brands that do it out there. And if you can figure out a way to do
Mm.
it, I think, you're definitely able to grow your customer base, I think, much quickly, especially for those moms that, might need the extra hands during the day, but also want to take care of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of talked about some blogs, but a book or podcast you would recommend for aspiring franchise retailers or leaders or marketers?
I do like the Fit Insider is my tried and true. Like that is one that
It's
I
the
would hope,
go-to. Yeah.
my go-to that I really recommend anyone who wants to keep up with the health and wellness news. They are a great
Hmm.
resource. And I definitely highly recommend subscribing to their blogs.
Awesome. And then outside of hooking up with you and talking to the retail method, what's a piece of advice, for any emerging franchisors looking to maximize their retail success as they build their brand?
Listen to your franchisees, right, with what they want. Not only would I say one, incorporate retail
Mm,
early on into your strategy, but then two, understand the needs and the wants from the franchisee as well, because they are the ones that are going to be selling to the end user. So
yeah.
understanding what do they think would sell, what price points do you think would work within your locations, and what kind of operational challenges can we help you with. I think understanding that, now you don't always have to agree with it, right, but getting that qualitative feedback to help drive your strategy, I think, is so critical, because they're the
Yeah.
ones that are going to have to keep coming back and purchasing more, and selling to the end user. So we have
Yeah.
to make sure that they're set up for success.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And with that last portion of the show, we always like to, like a late night show host, give you, 30 seconds a minute, kind of talk about the retail method. Where can people reach out to you? What's cool, exciting in your life right now that you want people to know about?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you can visit my LinkedIn. I always say LinkedIn is the best place to find me. I have a personal page,
Yeah,
Andrea Wiita, and then there's also a Retail Method page, at the Retail Method. You can check out, I just launched a brand new website refresh, which
let's
I'm
go.
very excited and stoked about. It's
Yeah.
theretailmethod.com. You can check that out. It outlines, our mission, our services, some, highlights a few of the brands that I've worked with, and testimonials, so you can really understand the impact that the retail method can
Hmm.
make, and see if it aligns with what you're looking for. And if I can be of any help, I hope you can tell from this podcast how passionate I am about it. And I'd love just to set up a quick
Yeah.
call and chat and see if I could help any brands out there.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for your time today. I think this was like such a unique and interesting perspective. You're the first, retail, merchandise oriented marketer we've had on the show. So I really appreciate you taking the time, and I know the audience does as well. So thanks for being on.
Absolutely. I had a blast, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And everybody else, thanks for listening again to Behind the Franchise. We hope you guys had an awesome time. And we look forward to having you back to listen to the next show. So, talk to you guys later.